It's quite a thing to reflect on, this video, right? Especially after what we talked about last week, if you remember, how love is a commitment, how love is selfless and sacrificial, how it's about committing to another person in the good times and in the bad times, in serving each other, in giving your life away for another human being. And it's not about how pleasing the other person is to your eyes, how easy they are for you to talk to, what you get out of the relationship. There's so much more to marriage than the superficial standards of our culture today. And we know that, as we talked about, marriage is not the end-all, be-all of what this world's about, but marriage is a representation of that greater picture between the love, the relationship between Jesus Christ and His church, the greater spiritual reality that exists there. Now, I hope that you're already seeing that this time in your life right now is a very, very important time. It's very important for your futures. It's very important for your marriage. It's very important for you guys as husbands and wives, and it's very important for the person you marry. It's very important for your children. What you guys do in these years right now matters. This is not a time for you guys to be wasting or thinking lightly on. I have in front of you guys is a note sheet. There's an outline there like we had last time, and you feel free to follow along with me. There's scripture verses there that we'll be looking at. There's blanks that you can fill in as we go along. Okay. And as I had mentioned, our first week of the summer, there's going to be times where messages start getting offensive. Maybe even I'll be saying things you don't want to hear, things that go against what you have grown up believing. And that's going to start now, if it hasn't already. And it's just going to progress from there. So be prepared for that. So I hope that you guys are seeing this time in your life right now. It's not a time for you to just simply try out different guys or girls. This is a time, if you're not ready for commitment, then it's not time to get into an intimate, personal, romantic relationship. Joshua Harris writes, if you're not ready for marriage, then wait on romance. Now is a time for you guys to be enjoying friendship with the opposite sex, but not to use this time as a single person to play around. Instead, while you are single is a time to be serving the Lord. Now, guys, maybe you as the guys here are interested in a girl, and maybe you want to express that. And here's the words a pastor spoke to Joshua Harris, who I've been studying his work. The pastor said, "Don't let impatience get the upper hand. Be her friend, but don't communicate your interest until you're ready to start a relationship that has a clear purpose and direction. You don't want to play with her heart." So here's some questions for you to think about. Am I prepared spiritually and emotionally for marriage? Could I provide for a wife and a family? Is this God's time for me to pursue a relationship? And so tonight's message is called, Are You Ready for a Relationship? And that's what we're going to be discussing. Is it a time for you to be in a relationship, or are things that need to be in order before you initiate a relationship? Our key verse for tonight, you'll see on your paper there. Song of Solomon 8:4 says, "Do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires." Meaning, wait until it is the right time. Don't awaken love too early or prematurely. And there's a second verse for tonight. Philippians 4:6-7 says, "Don't be anxious," ANXIOUS, "don't be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God," PEACE, peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Let's talk about contentment. Do you guys know what contentment means? The word content has to do with being satisfied, being at peace. The Bible calls us to be content in whatever period, whatever stage of life we are at. The next verse, Philippians 4:11-13 says, "I am not saying this because I am in need, but I have learned to be content." CONTENT. I've learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need. I know what it is to have plenty. I learned the secret of being content, again, same word, in any and every situation. Whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want, I can do all things through him who gives me strength. Contentment is a huge part of the Christian life. It's saying whatever God has for me at the present time is his purpose, it's his plan, and I should not want something different from that. Maybe you're thinking, I can't wait till I'm married. I can't wait till I'm already in that situation. You're thinking about the future so much that you're not even content with your state in the present. Maybe you're single and you're thinking, I just need to be with somebody. And you're not content with your singlehood that God has you in right now. A lot of older people will look back on maybe their high school days, their college days, and they'll call them their glory days. And they'll look back and they'll say, I wish I could have my glory days back. And that's sinful. It's sinful to say, I'm not content with where God has me today. Because where he has you right now is part of his plan for your whole life. It's his purpose, it's his will to have you in the state you are in right now. And the reality is you must be content being single before you consider being in a relationship, or else you're pursuing that relationship for the wrong reasons. Second thing, while we're on the subject, God does not like complainers. That's a key word there. I don't like complainers. How much less do you think God likes complainers? Are you the kind of person that complains because you're single? Are you the kind of person that complains because you like a guy but he's with a girl that you don't like? Or vice versa? Be content. If you're single right now, be content that you are single. Be satisfied in that. Be happy. Be at peace about the fact that you are not currently married. And use this time wisely. These years of your life right now, until you meet your husband or your wife, are huge. They serve a huge purpose. These years are extremely important for the rest of your life, the life of your husband and your children, and everyone that will come after them. The big question, point 3 on your paper, the big question we're all asking is, when can I start having thoughts about entering a relationship with a person of the opposite sex? When is the right time? When? When is the question? All right, first off, before we answer that, let's talk about what's called the awakening. The awakening. This is when a young person first starts finding an attraction to the opposite gender. When they first start seeing the opposite gender as attractive, as cute, as nice. I would think this happens maybe around 12 years old or so. But more and more today we see in our culture it's happening at a much younger age, to the point where there's now like 8-year-olds with boyfriends and girlfriends, which is just disgusting. It's not even funny, it's just really disgusting. And it's not right. Children should be allowed to be children. A child should be allowed to be naive and not have to think about these things. A boy that's not even 8 years old or something should not be hearing about relationships. No one should be telling them you're a lady killer when you're 6 years old. That's getting them thinking about things they shouldn't be thinking about while they're young. While they're kids, they should be just little kids and just be innocent and just have fun and do kid things. But our culture and our world in America here, it says that as soon as you have that awakening, as soon as you find an attraction to the opposite gender, then you should go off your animal instincts, as if we're these animals, and just go for it. And we should just go and play around. Here's the truth of it. When people are awakened to the opposite gender, what they should do is see that that is a time for them to now start preparing. It's not a time to just jump in and start playing. Time to prepare. It's God's way of saying, okay, you are ready to start prepping for adulthood, to be a man, to be a woman, to start preparing for a relationship. Now, when that preparing happens, the father should say to his son, son, now it's time to increase your training for manhood, to prepare you for a woman that you will one day have. And women, the mom should say to the girl, now's the time, and start increasing the training for womanhood, and to train her what it is to be a godly, feminine woman. Right now, next point on your paper, right now, you are all single, okay? And biblically, here's the answers. Biblically, you are either single or you are married. Okay, and the only other alternative you'd be betrothed or engaged, which is committing to marry each other. But you didn't have what we see in our culture today, all this in between, different kinds of relationships going on, different kinds of dating, open relationships, all kinds of stuff that this culture has embraced as being a reality. All these different, Facebook statuses that are there, they're not biblical. They're not biblical. Right. So none of this unsure stuff that's just for the present. None of this, present gratification kind of stuff. You guys, all of you students sitting before me are single individuals. You might say, I'm in a relationship, I'm dating this person, but you are a single person. You are not one flesh with anybody else right now. Now is the time. Now is the time for you to be studying hard. Now is the time for you to be saving up money. Now is the time for you to be preparing for married life. And now is the time for you to be serving God in your singlehood that you will not be able to do when you have a spouse and a family. Think of my situation, for instance, right now. I'm obviously a single man right now. I am serving you guys in this youth ministry. And because I don't have a spouse or a family right now, I can devote much more time to you guys and make you more of a priority in my life. Right? When the time comes that I take a wife and have a family, they're going to become my priority. That doesn't mean I neglect you, but I will invest more time in them. That would change things, okay? I would then be serving them first and foremost. Okay, that's the biblical mandate there. What I'm trying to say is, while you are single, now is the time to be part of as many ministries. Do things for the Lord in this time. I can serve in a worship band and in this ministry and that one right now, but I won't be able to spread myself out as much when that time comes. Now is the time to be serving God before you have those cares and responsibilities of a family. The Apostle Paul, we can look at his example. He chose to stay single, and he knew people were out for his life. And if you're a strong Christian and say you're doing mission work in another country, people may be out for your life. Declaring yourself a Christian, may cause you your life. You may die for that. In certain countries, you would. So to have a family, that would hold a certain person back from being as loud about their Christianity as some others, perhaps. Now, maybe you've never heard stuff like this about preparing, because it's not what our world would tell you guys to do. Our culture doesn't say prepare for marriage. You don't see that in movies or in songs. The world just says you're single, so you should waste these years. Basically, our culture says waste your youth. Waste your young love. Just waste these years away. Think about it for 1 second. Our culture's idea of teenage years. Go out every night. Go to parties. Go to clubs. Sit on Facebook till 3 a.m. Play Call of Duty and watch wrestling every night. Go to baseball games and basketball games every weekend. Don't be looking at each other, because this applies to everyone. This applies to all of us. Our culture is a culture of fun. It just says just have fun while you're a teenager. But when those years are up, when it's time for you to be an adult, when you hit your 20s and you're ready to get married, what do you have to show for it? What can you say that you've done in those years to prepare? You'll find yourself at an age well past the age where you can be married, and you won't even know the first thing about marriage. Guys, you'll get to a place where you want to get married, but you won't know anything about how to be a spiritual leader to your family. You might not even know that you're supposed to be a spiritual leader to your family. But what that even means. Don't waste these years and enter your 20s with nothing to show for it.